Hey everyone, Duke Nukem 3D here with another technical sort of review, and this video is going to be all about gas mask head harnesses and buckle systems, because this is a topic that I don't normally see a lot of people touch base on other than a passing mention in the review of a specific mask, and not really something that's been analyzed as a topic on whole. So this will be an on-camera review due to the amount of donning and doffing that I will be doing with these masks, so you get to see my ugly mug. So, that being said, let's get right into it. Move the camera up here so I can be on screen. Alright, so here are an array of the more common, just a few random examples of masks with these particular types of harnesses and buckle systems I'm going to be talking about. Firstly, let's start off with my least favorite. This is the riveted type of harness, and it is named so for, as you can see, the buckle is retained in a piece of canvas webbing, which then is riveted onto the mask with a stud and washer. And this was kind of a good idea back in the late 30s, early 40s, but as time progressed, by the 1970s, it was quite an obsolete idea. And the main advantages to a riveted system is it does allow for some degree of replaceability, assuming that you have the hardware and materials to re-rivet a mask, which I do. And I have technical manuals that go over how to do that process, but obviously you're not going to be using something like that for a modern day respirator. So, and another issue with them is the rubber, depending on the quality and the condition, will degrade around the rivet, and it will often cause a I've mentioned this before. I've done a whole video on riveted harnesses and why they're a terrible idea in today's modern standards, but the main reason is they fail because the rivets will cut through the rubber over time. The rubber will degrade from the pressure, and they'll oftentimes break through the mask entirely. And really the only advantage I can see to a riveted system is potential replaceability, given the assumption that you have the hardware and tooling to do so, which most people will not, so it is kind of a moot point. Moving on from that, and I will cover harnesses once I finish covering buckle systems, is the distant cousin to the riveted harness, which is the button-style harness, which is very common on modern industrial masks and masks like the Israeli M15A1 and 4A1 masks, and you can see here on this Draeger Panorama Nova, where the idea is that you have a single stud which does not put undue pressure on the rubber by being riveted in place. It's just a plastic stud to which a buckle assembly simply slides in and fixes into place. And the main advantage to this is that not only do most of these masks have this design so that the button is on an external tab fitted far away from the seal of the facepiece so that nothing can degrade and break free and cause a leak, but the harness is also easily removable for decontamination and replacement, and it's just it puts a hell of a lot less pressure on the mask due to not being permanently riveted in place, and you can actually remove these studs and replace them. Only a couple times in my 8 years or so of collecting at the time of making this video, I've seen only a few examples of masks with this type of harness fail, and it might be due to abuse and poor quality. At that point, the mask would be unusable anyhow due to not having a proper seal. But anyhow, no problems with this harness design. My only complaint is that it does put a little bit of stress on the mask. I've very rarely seen this type of harness tear all the way through, but it's just something to keep in mind, I suppose. They are, and leaking isn't something that I would worry about as opposed to the riveted masks, because with these masks, the rivets are placed so that they're far away from any face seal components. So again, I already mentioned that. Next up here is probably what you're more used to, which is the Schlemmmaske, or helmet mask style not really a harness, it's more of a hood, really, isn't it? But these are very common, obviously. They're on almost every single Com Block era mask, and some others as well. And the main advantage to these is that, obviously, being entirely a hood means you don't have to adjust with buckles, and you don't have to worry about parts needing replacement. It is literally just the entirety of the facepiece holding itself against your face. That is the main advantage, and also the fact that because there's no hardware penetrating through the rubber at all, it would mean that obviously you'd have a much greater seal and longevity of the mask. The problem with these hoods are typically made out of slightly thinner rubber than the face blank, and so they are prone to tearing with frequent use, and if these masks are abused. And the hoods are usually the first thing to go on helmet style masks when the rubber starts to break down, or because obviously these are under a lot of stress. And another issue is that these aren't what you would call ergonomic. They are basically just a giant rubber condom that you fit over your head, and it's expected to make a seal, which in most cases it does, simply because the face seal is somewhere around your neck and you have a whole lot of this area to cover basically wherever a face seal might be failing. But at the same time, it doesn't allow for a whole lot of modularity when it comes to face types and head sizes, because you could have a disproportionately small face with an abnormally large head, and that would totally fuck up the sizing system of these masks. And another thing I should mention, just to get this out of the way, with donning the masks, one of the things I've noticed with these is that people will tend to put them on from the chin first up over the back of the head, and that's typically the standard affair for gas masks. But I found the more proper way to put on helmet masks, which I may have mentioned in previous videos, is to take your thumbs, you basically grasp the edges of the hood and spread the top open with your two thumbs, stretch it open and seat the very top edge of the hood along the back of your head, just the top edge, the very crown of your head, and then pull it down over your chin, spreading with your thumbs as you go, like so.
It's as simple as that, and it's a hell of a lot faster than doing it from the chin up.
So that's another thing to consider when using a helmet-style mask if it's the only option you have. Moving along from that, we don't need to talk about this mask anymore, since I've covered a majority of the bases that there are to be talked about with this. Let's move on to the American molded style buckle, in that the buckle assembly is permanently fixed to the rubber material of the face blank via injection molding. I haven't seen a whole lot of other masks do this besides US designs, and it works for what it needs to. It's a fairly competent system. There's nowhere for the mask to degrade around a rivet or break free of itself. Really, the face blank would have to break before the buckle does, but on the other hand, if you have a buckle that's corroded and degraded, you would probably have to replace the mask to get that fixed, because the buckles are completely held hostage by the face piece, and obviously there's no way to replace them. Speaking of the buckles, the American type of buckle, which is made of a stamped brass, has a wavy corrugated section on the edge that would grip the elastic better. Is the most common buckle you'll see. A lot of countries copied it and use it to some degree or another, and it's probably the best in terms of modularity, because any other buckle design that sort of deviates from the norm of this does not allow for a wide variety of harnesses to be used. And I'll get into various harness types in a minute. I could literally make an entire series of videos covering the strange and unique ways various countries have come up with ways to hold gas masks against your face, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to cover what's most common on the surplus market. So moving on from that, here is my most favorite type of gas mask buckle, and that is the tab type, wherein the buckle is not secured to the mask through any molding, riveting, or any sort of component which may protrude through the face blank, but instead the face blank is molded with individual tabs with a sort of wedge or raised bump section halfway down onto it, so that the buckle slips over this, and the pressure of that ledge holds it in place quite firmly. And I don't need to worry about the buckle cutting through the rubber, because most of the contact pressure is on that thickened, reinforced part, which makes it a very versatile and durable design, because you can not only remove the buckles with relative ease, it depends on what mask you're using, and also the fact that it does not interfere with any sort of seal or protective capabilities or the quality or health of the rubber, because there is nothing obviously cutting into it, and there's no holes or nothing like that. It's literally just held in with pressure, and it works amazingly. And this is probably one of my favorite examples of a stud type mask, the Chinese Type 64 here. This mask is so well designed. I know I keep giving this thing lip service, but I'm honestly impressed with it. It's given, like, I don't even have to adjust the bottom straps. That's how good the seal is on this thing. I could just slip it on over my head in an instant. I don't need to do anything but do a standard clear and seal check in this thing. This is like the only comm block mask that I would genuinely trust my life to. This is quite an amazingly designed piece of equipment. But enough on that. Let's get on to harnesses here before my camera memory runs out. So, most head harnesses that you'll see on the conventional market are this type. This is what I like to call the rectangular head pad type harness, or the C8 style harness, and that is obviously a rectangular pad of fabric, or it could be another shape, who knows. But the main key is that it will have 6 straps, sometimes 5, depending on what type of mask you have, that are elasticated and use the standard American buckle type system. And these are simple to adjust by giving them quick short tugs, and then when you want to loosen them, you lift the buckle and rock it until it is loose enough to just lift it open and then just pull the strap all the way loose. I will show you a quick view of donning this type of harness, where you would grasp both the lower and temple straps with your thumb underneath the straps and your fingers wrapped around the temple strap. You spread open the mask, but not too far. Place your chin in first and then pull the rest of the assembly over your head before adjusting, like so.
And that's as simple as that. That works as well as it needs to. Nothing much to be improved there. And showing loosening of the buckles where you rock it, then pull it.
And pull the mask down and up over your head. So, it's a very common harness design. You may see some modification to some degree, like with the Type 64 here, as you can see, is a 5-point harness, and the straps are a bit thicker, meaning they're a bit more comfortable. The head pad is a little bit different of a shape, but it has the same degree of comfort, no real difference. And the buckles are double buckled on the lower strap, but again, I don't even feel like I need to use those just because it seals so well. So, that's basically it with that. Another type of harness is the rubber head harness, which in that, obviously, as the name would suggest, the harness is made entirely out of the material of the face piece. And this is a good idea if you want a mask you can decontaminate the harness without having to worry about drying it off or ruining the elastic. Because I can guarantee you, any elastic harness that you'll have to decontaminate, you might as well just replace it, because it's gonna, any decontamination solution is probably going to degrade the rubber in the elastic, and it will become useless through repeated usage of this. So rubber harnesses are good for the advent of they don't wear out as easily. They last about as long as the face piece does, and they are easily decontaminatable. But they do have a lack of comfort in most cases. Some of them aren't that bad, but others, like the GP7 or the PMK, which aren't even adjustable for the most part. They're adjustable to the degree of you pre-adjust them before you put on the mask. But anyways, getting ahead of myself, they sometimes lack in comfort, is my point. Another type is the mesh skull cap harness, which, as you can see on this M45, operates on the similar principles to the rectangular head pad / C8 style harness. However, the head pad is an extended mesh skull cap, which provides ample support and comfort to the user, as well as ventilation, so that obviously having a wider area covering the back of your head, you'll probably want to ventilate any heat that generates up underneath that. But these only, I don't find them all that much more comfortable than a normal C8 style harness. The main advantage is they're a hell of a lot more secure, given that they cover more area on your head. Whereas, like, imagine a helmet style mask where they cut a section out and they'd have individual straps running to the face blank. That's basically the principle on how they fit and work. Just a more modular helmet style mask, essentially, is what it feels like. And I don't really need to demonstrate how to don these. It's pretty much the same principle as a rectangular head pad style harness. And just to demonstrate this mask, 5-point harnesses, I should also mention, they're a bit of a hit and miss type of concept, because the main disadvantage of having a 5-point harness is that the pressure is not evenly distributed across the forehead, and so you get a lot of pressure riding the top of your head, whereas a 6-point harness would distribute that very evenly. But with this mask, given its current buckle position on the top of your head, I don't find it all that much uncomfortable. So I'll go ahead and show you how quick and easy it is to don this mask, much in the same manner, but I don't even, as I mentioned before, I don't even need to adjust it.
Sometimes you gotta watch for snags like this, but other than that, it's very, very easy. I absolutely love this mask.
And I know I'm kind of shilling it out, but I don't know. That's basically all that needs to be said about harnesses. There really isn't too much else that I haven't covered already. You know how to adjust and loosen buckles. You know what to look out for, and you know the different types there are out there most commonly. If you have any comments, questions, corrections, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. I'm Duke Nukem 3D, and I'll see you all later.